Sometimes I get trapped in this cycle of reading whatever book is viral at the moment, not feeling like it was something that I would have picked up on my own, but then not knowing what to read next, so I just pick up the next viral book that I see. And I don't think I'm alone. But there are an infinite number of ways to discover new books that are specifically interesting to you. And I'd like to test one of these methods out that Mr. Jeffrey Bezos has been shoving in our faces for years in a little game that I'd like to call Yezos or Nazos.
If you have an Amazon profile and have showed any interest in books, then you probably have this section on your Amazon homepage called Recommended Books for You, which I'm gonna go ahead and assume is made up of the books you've bought from Amazon, the books you've rented from programs like Kindle Unlimited, the books you've left reviews for on Amazon or Goodreads if your accounts are linked, and maybe even the books that you rent digitally from your library but read on your Kindle. But that last part is mostly the conspiracy theorist part of my brain. It is not confirmed. The list of recommendations refreshes every time you reload the page, so I'm going to take in all of the options that I have at the moment, pick one and decide if it's a good recommendation for me with a Yezos or a Nazos, and then pick a new one from the updated list and do it all over again to figure out if this is a good way to get book recommendations. Can we trust Jeffrey with this one thing? Let's see what we've got on the list today. Right off the bat, this is all looking like romance. I'm thinking I'm gonna go for one of the ones that is more on the fantasy side. And I'm also looking for something with enough plot to distract me from my feelings because I finished reading a devastating book last night. And I need something to help me recover from that. So like not too much brain power, but enough going on that I'm not thinking about my pain. Hurricane Wars looks like fantasy. A Far Wilder Magic. Fortuna Sworn. Okay, the first official pick is going to be The Hurricane Wars by Tea Guanzon. Sorry for the mispronunciation. It kind of looks like exactly what I'm looking for. The synopsis is interesting, the cover's really pretty, and it seems like it's somewhere on the romantic fantasy to romantasy spectrum, which is what I'm looking for right now. So I've got my little fingies crossed. We did it. We did it. We found another published Reylo fanfiction, okay? And I am gonna have to DNF it. Actually, I'm a little bit angry. Let's talk for a second here. I'm not against Reylo fanfiction. I'm not against it being published. Do I chase after it? No, for a few reasons. I don't know anything about Reylo. I'm not a Star Wars girl. I don't really like sci-fi. I don't really vibe with space in general. And this book that is comped to both ACOTAR and Fourth Wing, two high fantasy novels, is a sci-fi novel, and it should be categorized as such. I got to this sentence in the book that said he'd taken the stolen moth coracle back to the continent, and Cassith's enchanters must have been put to work extracting the new magic from its ether hearts. And I realized that I do not know what that means, and that all 36% of this book that I've listened to, which is a little bit, I think over 3 hours, went over my head. And I needed to put the book down. I don't know. So I went to look at the description of the book to say, hey, maybe this is my fault. Maybe I just skimmed it, so I didn't see that this is a sci-fi novel. Let me read you the key words from the description here. Okay, the Emperor's only son and heir has been tasked with obliterating any threats to the Night Empire's rule with the strength of his armies and mighty shadow magic. So interesting that they decided to leave out that he's also using his space lasers. Maybe that kicks in at the end of the description. An exquisite fantasy brimming with unforgettable characters and sizzling enemies to lovers, romance set in a richly drawn world. An intergalactic world. It can be both. It can be sci-fi and fantasy, but you can't just take out the science part. The real reason that this makes me so mad is that it reminds me exactly of how Mean Girls was not marketed as a musical. So they were like, yeah, new Mean Girls movie, people show up to the theater, they start singing, you throw your popcorn down, and you get on out of there, okay?
I knew it was a musical, so I enjoyed it. But you can't tell me that this book is gonna give me the same feeling, the same energy. It's gonna be similar to the experience of reading ACOTAR and Fourth Wing, and then put it all on spaceships. I just think that capitalism is a crime. And it's negatively impacting the arts, okay? All of these big media companies, like with Mean Girls, like with Wonka, which also wasn't marketed as a musical. It's the same thing with all of these publishers all of a sudden taking the main characters' ages out of the descriptions in YA novels because they want the novels to appeal to a wider audience, and they want to like trick people that are interested in reading adult romance or adult fantasy or what adult books into buying YA novels because they don't realize what they're picking up because the ages in the genre aren't mentioned forthright, and it just makes me mad because I think that there are a ton of Reylo obsessed people that would absolutely love this book. But instead, you're marketing it to fans of ACOTAR and Fourth Wing who are looking for something completely different. And whatever this marketing ploy is that all of these big companies are trying to use, it's not going to work because now I'm just angry that I picked up something that was misrepresented to me, and now I don't trust whoever published this. Who published this? Harper Voyager. Harper, we've got beef. Okay? Tell me it's a sci-fi if it's a sci-fi. I want to know if the movie I'm seeing is a musical. I just don't think that art is supposed to be made for mass consumption in this way that these companies are trying to market it so that they can get the most money. Like, art is supposed to be made for people to find and connect with. Not everybody's gonna connect with all art, but maybe it would find a really awesome audience of people that love it passionately within the sci-fi lovers community if they were told that it's actually a sci-fi novel. Am I making sense? By trying to appeal to mass audiences, you're actually cutting out your target demographic because they don't even know that you're making this art for them. It devalues the art! Like I said, capitalism is a crime. I gotta pick another book now. Okay, let's try this again. There are new books on the list, like Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio, Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. Honestly, on immediate first look through, that's the book that's calling me the most, but I kind of feel like that would be not giving the experiment the right opportunity to shine, because I already know that that's a series that I want to read. So it feels kind of like cheating if that's the recommendation that I take. So I'm between The Phoenix King and The Fake Mate. I'm in more of a fantasy mood. I think I'm gonna stick true to the experiment and go with The Phoenix King by Aparna Verma.
Romanticize your life. Even opening up a book on the phone you're severely addicted to can be an act of self-care. Rotting away in your bed on one of the nicest days of the summer is not going to negatively impact your mental health if you think of yourself as a lady of the 1800s, pondering the meaning of life and the overwhelming power of the nature you're afraid to experience. Stay inside, rest, be unburdened by what has been.
You guys are not gonna believe this. Okay, The Phoenix King is also a sci-fi book. Once again, I rechecked the description of the book and I didn't find any mention of sci-fi or anything in the description that would make me think that it was in the sci-fi genre. I don't know if I'm just really bad at picking those things out for the sci-fi genre because I don't really read it, or if it actually is these giant media conglomerates trying to flatten down people's art so that they can make more money by selling it to a wider variety of audiences. Capitalism! Regardless of that entirely, I still don't understand why Mr. Bezos is recommending me these sci-fi fantasy books when the last sci-fi book I read was literally Dune over a year ago and I didn't get it on Amazon. Clearly this is a big ol' Nazos again. I don't know what we're doing out here, but in my book, it's 3 strikes and you're out. So we're on thin ice, Amazon.
I'm really scared of Amazon. I do also want to be clear that my criticisms here have nothing to do with the authors of these books, with these books at all. Honestly, both of the books so far have been pretty well written, so I think that if you like sci-fi, you should definitely check these out. Don't let my experience sway you. I've got nothing against these books. This is between me and the man. Let's pick another book. This time I'm going into it with an idea already of what book I'm gonna pick, because it's literally been on this list every single time I've looked in the last month. I will take a little peek and see what we've got though. I'm seeing a lot of the same. The book that I was thinking was gonna be on the list again is on the list again. I don't know anything about it except that it's a shifter romance. I've never been recommended it before, and it's kind of fantasy adjacent. It's a paranormal romance. So let's give it a try. The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson.
Little did she know, this was also a Reylo fanfiction.
Stop, I'm screaming. You can't scream, I'm screaming. I was not planning on filming right now, obviously, but Emily Bader and Tom Blythe were just announced for Poppy and Alex in Emily Henry's Netflix People We Meet on Vacation. Emily Bader, who's in My Lady Jane, which is like my hyperfixation right now, and fucking Tom Blythe. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm in the theater already. Like this, I have full body goosebumps. Tom Blythe is so Alex. I have to say, People We Meet on Vacation is probably my least favorite Emily Henry book. This might change that. This movie might change that. Emily Bader and Tom Blythe. Okay, stop looking at me. I need to go get ready. Okay, I've calmed down a bit from that announcement. I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book now, and I think I'm about to get to the darkest moment in Act 3. So that is kind of a make or break moment in a romance story for me, because it's the third act breakup. I don't know why I'm explaining this to you. I'm sure you already know exactly what I'm talking about. I hate a rushed, nonsensical third act breakup. But so far, my experience of the book is that it's exactly what it's saying that it is. It's a fake dating, Omegaverse shifter romance that takes place in a hospital, and it's between two of the doctors there. I will say, I would not really categorize this as a romance. There isn't a lot of plot. Maybe that's why I can't summarize it. There really isn't a whole lot of plot. It's mostly just about the explicit scenes. So if you are somebody that specifically likes to read things based on the trope, and you're having like a very specific craving, damn, I'm really looking for a shifter Omegaverse fake dating story right now, get this one. It's got it all. I don't think this book's for everybody though. It's really explicit. It doesn't have a ton of plot going on other than the fake dating. Like, that's pretty much it. And it's Omegaverse, which I've said way too many times on this channel now, let alone in this video, for my liking. Okay, I managed to finish The Fake Mate by Lana Ferguson, and I don't honestly have too much to add other than what I said yesterday. It's pretty standard, covers all the basics of the genre. The writing's pretty good. There are some nitpicky things that I could say. So all around positive experience. I will say that it's not really the type of book I usually go for, because it's very explicit, and the physical nature of the main characters' relationships, like, is a huge aspect of the story, which makes sense in something like an Omegaverse story. Oh my god, and the other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm having another strange audiobook experience, because I listened to like the first half of the book and I had to stop because the male narrator doesn't sound like Penn Badgley this time. He kind of sounded like I don't know his name, the voice actor for Bob's Burgers, the like who does Bob. I was like, I had to stop. It was freaking me out, because I know Bob and Linda are getting freaky in Bob's Burgers, but that is not what I want from Bob. Overall, I would say for me, this is maybe like 2.5, 3-star type of read, which doesn't mean that it's a bad recommendation. And I actually am kind of impressed that Amazon recommended a paranormal shifter type of book to me. So even though it was not like a new favorite book of mine, I gotta give this one a Yazos. I don't know why, like it kind of feels wrong to give Bezos a Yazos. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just jaded after the beginning of this. But I am willing to give one more chance to the Amazon book recommendations. I'm gonna try one more to see if we can find something that feels like a perfect match.
For the final book, I picked another paranormal romance. My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine, which is about Cassie, an artist in her 20s with big dreams and an empty wallet. She finds an ad looking for a roommate in an apartment that's $200 a month, so even though her new roommate is a mysterious man that sleeps all day and only has decor from the 1800s, he's also really hot, so she moves in.
This experiment is officially ending with a soft bang, a clap. We'll end this experiment with a clap because this was my favorite of all of the books so far. The pacing of it was a little bit off at the very beginning and the very end, but the middle, I was laughing. I was kicking my little feet. It has the kind of perfect like level of kitschy ridiculousness that only the best rom-coms have, and it just took perfect advantage of the absurdity of like a normal Chicago girl accidentally moving in with a vampire. Like I feel like rom-coms are supposed to have this level of being over the top and this need for suspending your disbelief even in something set in reality, although this is paranormal of course, because it just makes it fun. Like we're all having fun out here, you know? And this book definitely nails that quality. There are some tropey moments that I didn't think necessarily matched the vibe. Like there was a literal "who did this to you" scene, and there just aren't high enough stakes for that when you're like at one of your best friend's house parties, you know? But what can I say? It gave me a silly, vampiric good time. So I liked it. It gets 3 stars, it gets a Yazos, and it's time for the final consensus of this experiment. In this video, I learned that I will not be getting my recommendations from Amazon. I think that they would be more accurate if I actually rated the books that I read on Amazon or Goodreads, but I prefer not to. So I know that it's partially my fault. And also 2 of the 4 books were pretty good, but hey, 50% ain't a passing grade. So I will have to continue the search for a place to get good recommendations, which is fine. Bye! I have a confession. After raging about sci-fi for like 3/4 of this video, I did go to the store and get Star Wars Oreo.